Hello again, thanks for tuning in. So summer has arrived here in East Anglia in England at last. I'm wearing a t-shirt for the first time for ages. The temperature's cranking up, not quite as hot as it is in Europe at the moment, but still warm enough. So summer, not my favourite time of year for landscape photography. Certainly my favourite time of year for listening to the cricket and watching the tennis and all of those other lovely things. But this time of year is not brilliant for photography, for landscape photography, because the sun rises really early, the sun sets really late, and both of those events happen really quickly. So the sun appears to rise really quickly, and then that lovely light that we enjoy isn't around for very long, so it's hardly worth sometimes getting up for. And during the day the light is normally harsh, the sun's high in the sky, there's no real kind of cloud cover, can look a bit dull. So what do you do in the summer to scratch your landscape photography itch? Well, I do one of two things, sometimes both together. I'm going to share one of them with you today. One of them is long exposure photography, and the other one is drone photography. Now this week we're going to look at long exposure photography. I'm at a location that I've scouted out before. I was tipped off by Mersey Millsy, so thank you very much for that, Sean. Go and check out Sean on Twitter. And it needed a high tide, so timed this for today, and the tide today is the highest it's going to be for 2 or 3 weeks. Hopefully it's going to be high enough. So we're going to walk down to locations about 10 minutes from here, and I'll talk to you about what we're going to shoot. But I'm actually quite hopeful. The sky looks a bit dark and imposing, and that is going to suit the subject matter for this really, really well. So I'm hoping it's going to hang around. I hope it doesn't rain. Probably my luck, probably won't, both of those things won't happen. It'll probably rain, and then the clouds will probably just go. But probably a monochrome shot, I think. Well, last time I scouted it out, it certainly looked like a monochrome shot to me. So let's get the stuff out of the car. 10 minutes walk that way. So, gonna shoot it. Whoops! Gonna shoot it from halfway down the bank. It's quite steep down here. I don't want to get into the mud, although I could have obviously have my wellies on. But I'm looking at this and thinking, oh, I'm a bit disappointed the tide's not high enough. But actually, we've still got another 3/4 of an hour to go until the tide is fully up. So, and I'd imagine it comes in quite quickly here because it's very flat, so it doesn't take an awful lot to bring it up. It is what it is. We're going to blur the water anyway with a long exposure. This angle looks quite good because the sun's kind of slightly over here, and it's going to give me some nice light on the side of these trees here. I'm still thinking monochrome, but if the sky is really, really boring, which at the moment it is, I might leave this as a colour picture and give a bit more interest. If there's some clouds appear in the background, which there might do, then we'll go monochrome, I think. Still kind of not sure. I've got those thoughts in my head, so we'll see what we think. The other thing I might do is get the drone out. These salt marshes look really interesting from the top. So while I'm waiting for the tide to come in, I'm going to set the camera up, get it all ready, and then we'll send the drone up. I'm going to have a little look at what we can see, because sometimes in the summer, sending a drone up and just flying around with it facing down, it's a really interesting thing to do. If you haven't seen my drone video on why you should buy one, go and have a look at this. I'll put a card up here somewhere. But drones are really good for the summer because you can, the light is perfect. It's shooting straight down, it's shining straight down. Interesting though, nobody about at all. Some really lovely clouds behind you, as ever. It's always in the wrong place, isn't it? But they could come over. This could work out really well. Right, let's set the camera up. We'll see what we get. So we have got polarizer on this, just to get rid of the reflections. Got a nice blue sky ahead, above, which is not the best, not too bad. Focusing up on these trees. F13, 20th of a second. Now I've got 9 stops, so I could probably work that out, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my app, my Lee app, so that will work. So let's put that on the top here, on the front. While we're working with this, we've got, so a 20th of a second, roughly a 15th, and we've got 10 stops, which is one less, so it's 1 minute, so this is going to be 30 seconds. So if I were to go to an 1/8, if I were to go to the aperture down to F16, that's going to give me 1 minute exposure, and that should be fine. Right, let's just adjust the shutter speed, and a 1 minute exposure should be long enough just to blur all this water, which is blowing off the coast as the tides come in. A little bit of weather followed it in. Just let that go. There we go, and you've got a counter on the top here, on the screen at the top. There's a little countdown time that tells me how long I've got left, so let's wait till the exposure's finished and I'll show you the image. Right, I'm going to move a little bit further down now, very, very carefully. There's some concrete bits here. The tripod's still fine. Just if I can get a little bit lower, still looks good. Got some lovely colour on these trees here. That's dead sharp. Just focusing a bit more. Right, here we go then, 1 minute exposure. And then we'll see what we're doing. Now 1 minute exposure, this is perfect. There's some really lovely dark clouds behind you, but again, I'd like them to be over here. I don't think they're going to make it. Okay, so I've come further along, just including 3 or 4 of the little trees now. But better background, nice bank of clouds, a bank of, yeah, dark clouds. It's obviously some rain coming in over there. and it does look better. Some lovely light on the trees themselves, some nice texture. How long have we got on this exposure? Just done. There we go. Let me just check this. So this is going to be the last photo of the day, I think. This tree is not underwater. It doesn't, I don't know what it looks like. It might do at some point. It'd have to be a very high tide, but it's got a snake painted on it. Someone's done that. It looks really lovely. I love this tree because of the branches. There's more of it. It looks more dramatic. So this is going to probably be a square crop. Where I've shot this from, we've still got some of the posts that are underwater, or some of the old trees that are underwater in the distance, so a square will kind of work well. Got a little fence leading it out, which is really lovely. So let's shoot this and I'll show you the pictures. Well, I think we've sorted that. I think we've got that. This old tree needs a really high tide, so I might come back at some point in the future, but got some nice clouds behind, so this is a nice shot actually. I really like this. It's going to work in colour, it's going to work in black and white, it's going to work in desaturated colour as well. It's lovely. Now, I've just spoken to I haven't seen anybody at all, but I've just spoken to a guy who's come past on his bike, he's a local, who's asking what I was photographing. And apparently, if you know your literature, in Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, the film version, Ray Winstone came out of those are willow trees, he said. And where those trees that I was photographing earlier, not quite such a high tide, there's the opening scene is Ray Winstone coming out of there in Great Expectations, so it's a famous place. The light now is really nice. Might just do one more, but I'm going to say thank you very much. So thanks ever so much for watching. I'll see you next Sunday. Until then, take care. Goodbye.